Hey everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again. Now it's time for episode 221 of Album of the Day. But before we get into today's review, I just want to tell you the shirt I'm wearing is for my friend Jackson Dean, who is like 18 years old just like me, and really making his mark as a great musician and singer-songwriter. I recently saw him in concert at Jam and Java in Vienna, Virginia, so shout out to him for, for my friend sort of making his, sort of like getting his name out there as a musician. Anyway, let's get on to the review. Today's artist is a collaboration between two rappers, one of them being Kanye West, and the other being Kid Cudi. This is a little collaboration they put together in 2018, and the album of the same name was released on June 8th of that year. And the album and the project is called Kids See Ghosts. And as you can see, I have this on vinyl here. I was very excited to find this at Soundgarden because this is actually my #1 rap album of the year. It made it on the number 4 on my top 10 of 2018, and I still definitely think it holds up really well in that spot. Anyway, love this front cover. It's like Japanese or something like that. Yeah, it's very cool. There's the back. There are 7 songs on it, and it's only 23 minutes, so this is similar length to like the Pusha T album I reviewed, Daytona. That's only 7 songs and 21 minutes. Excuse me. And of course, this is released on Def Jam, along with Kanye West's record label, Good Music. And there's a little insert here, just has the liner notes and everything. Of course, Kanye and Cudi are the executive producers of this album, but then there's also additional production on here from Plain Pat, Andrew Dawson, who's worked on Kanye on like several of his projects. Justin Vernon, aka Bon Iver, actually has the production on here too. And unfortunately no download card, which sucks, but hopefully maybe I could buy a digital copy of this album online. There's side A, and then there's side B. It does sound really good on vinyl, by the way. Yeah, that's the vinyl packaging for Kids See Ghosts, the new collaboration between Kanye West and Kid Cudi. Now, this is a project that I did not really expect my enjoyment of, for some significant reasons. Well, of course, Kanye's known for being like one of the most influential people in hip-hop for the 2000s, with his incredible production techniques, as well as his talent and his intelligence that you saw in his music. Even though lately he's kind of, lost some people because he's like vocally admitted his support of Donald Trump and all this stuff. Kid Cudi, on the other hand, is one that like is a very sort of polarizing sort of figure in rap for a lot of people, including myself. I mean, I never liked Kid Cudi until hearing this album. However, like, I heard some of my peers raving about this project, and I thought, well, maybe I should give it a go. And sure enough, this album blew me away. It's definitely one of the best of the year. I mean, the opening track, Feel the Love, easily one of the greatest album openers of 2018. which opens up kind of minimal little like keyboard part, but Kid Cudi is just like shouting on top of that, "I can still feel the love," and it just sounds so cathartic, and I love it. And then Pusha T comes after that with a really nice intro verse for this album. Then, just when the song starts out kind of quiet and minimalistic, Kanye comes in with these like crashing bass drums that come in, do 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 do, and he's just like going on top of that. I just yeah, it just kills me every time. And then of course the song makes that gorgeous transition that most songs would do at like twice its length, with these kind of wailing synth and guitar lines, really sort of giving you a sneak peek as to like the kind of sounds that this album is gonna sort of use a lot, which is like elements of guitar music as well as hip hop and some lo-fi elements in there too. The next track, Fire, is the shortest song on the album, but definitely a worthy successor to Feel the Love. Features this kind of chugging, marching kind of beat, do 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 do, along with these really cool sort of instrumental elements like the kind of eerie mellotron flutes sound very nice on there, along with Kanye, along with Kid Cudi's very kind of ominous humming. And like both Ye and Cudi sort of in their verses kind of discuss some of their mental illnesses that they've been dealing with. Like, so yeah, a lot of you might already know this about Kanye, but he has suffered from bipolar disorder for like for a good chunk of his career. He does sort of talk about those sort of things pretty openly on his Ye album that came out in 2018. 18. And he, along with Kid Cudi, come through with such smooth flows that work really well over the beats, and also Cudi's "Heaven Lift Me Up" mantra is definitely really beautiful, actually. And then the song sort of closes out with this kind of lo-fi guitar sample, and then all of a sudden we get this sample from a Louis Prima Christmas song from the 30s called "What Is Santa Bringing?" And it's all like cutesy and all of that, and you're kind of like, what is going on here? But then, of course, that's the beginning of the third song on the album, Fourth Dimension. So like right after the sample, Kanye comes in with this kind of explicit sort of verse that does go into like themes of sex. So it's possibly an encounter with a hooker that he's like talking about or something like that, as you like listen to the lyrics. But he tells the story through like an awesome flow that goes really well over the chugging beat, which I think is like the exact same kind of beat he used on Pusha T's Drake diss song Infrared. And I love how he takes the Louis Prima sample, the chorus vocals, and kind of lays them on top of there, creating a really sticky sort of vocal hook as he's rapping. Bought an alligator, I ain't talking Lacoste. Maybe say, like a mix of Master P and Rick Ross. It's killer. And then Kid Cudi comes in, sort of discussing some of his like battles with depression and stuff like that. So it kind of makes sense that while Kanye's delivery is very kind of full of energy, he is like very just dejected and forlorn. So while this actually is kind of a more like optimistic sort of record for Cudi, there's still a lot he has to unpack here. pack, and heck, and the song has a really funny outro, sort of Kanye saying, all you really need to consider it a full-length song is, 2.5 minutes. That's all you really need for a record. 3 minutes, not, is what it sounds like he's saying at the end. Which is a really good sort of summary of kind of how a lot of the projects he's been involved in this year have been pretty much revolutionizing what everybody considers a full-length album. And then following that, the song Freeee, Ghost Town Part 2, which means this sort of acts as a sequel to the song Ghost Town off of Ye, which, well, I had very kind of mixed emotions about Ye, about the album Ye. Ghost Town actually is one of my favorite tracks on that album. And the SNL performance of that song was really cool too. He brought Cudi on there along with Party Next Door. Was on there too. And this song is essentially Kanye and Kid Cudi rapping over top of a punk rock band, because this song features some really cool sort of guitar sampling on there, and some really killer drumming on the song too. On the song too, and the lyrics on this song sort of see the two sort of kind of feeling a little more like meditative and more sort of positive than ever before. So they're sort of talking about how they don't feel pain anymore and how nothing really hurts them anymore. So it's definitely anymore. They're pretty much feeling more free than ever. And as they both shout "free" in the verses, I feel as though whatever else I may be thinking about, they are literally just pulling me into the music, sort of pull me away from whatever else might be distracting me. I think that was their whole point of the track. And Dolla comes through with some really soulful sort of background vocals for this song. The kind of gospel-y "free" it's just really cool on there. Yeah, it's really cool on there. It's a perfect centerpiece for this record, and really sort of showing how much Cudi is really improving, and he definitely is a little more full of energy than he used to be on some of his previous projects. His projects, and some really cool kind of keyboard stylings at the end too. Really satisfying finish for that song. Just everything about it is pretty much flawless. And then we flip over to side B of the record, and we get the song Reborn, which sees Kid Cudi sort of reflecting on how he's making a plan to just keep moving forward and sort of kind of let go of stress or something like that. He's sort of in a moment where even though he's still gonna have some demons to deal with, he's still just gonna keep looking on the bright side. Even though in the verses certainly do have some kind of emotionally harrowing sort of lyrical content. For example, Kanye's verse definitely is kind of the opposite of what Cudi is singing in the chorus, pretty much. But yet he's saying, I want all the rain, I want all the pain, I want all the shame. He definitely comes through with a flow that is just, very memorable, I would say. I would say. And then Cudi's verse, does sort of go in depth about, some of the things, he's he's like dealt with, and his very kind of bassy vocal performance is definitely like has a kind of eerie sort of feel to it that I really admire. Um, admire like it's the kind of like bassy notes that like I can't really sing as well as him. Uh, and then the song has a and the production of the song is really cool. I really like how kind of atmospheric and how kind of like the amount of space they put in here is just really like beautiful, uh, beautiful, and it's got some kind of mournful kind of organs going on, and it definitely has a little bit of a gospel kind of tone to it, and the transition it makes is like and and the transition that it makes is really cool. The way that the way that the tempo kind of speeds up works really well in there. And then he like auto tunes his vocal, so it sounds like very catchy almost to listen to. Yeah, to listen to on there. Definitely, it definitely works as kind of the follow up to Freeee. Like the album flow of all these tracks is really good, and it still feels like a fully fleshed out project. Yeah, so like don't necessarily let its runtime fool you. It definitely is an album, not an EP. EP. Then we go into the title track, "Kids See Ghosts," which is a little more, which is kind of more eerie and darker. But it has some awesome production on it. I love its kind of I love its kind of creeping little drum machine, along with its kind of somber, like synth embellishments. Embellishments in the hook on this track. "Kids see ghosts sometimes. Kids see ghosts sometimes." Sounds really good over top of that. So it sounds like kind of like creepy, but at the same time very like peppy as well. And meanwhile, Cudi sort of talks about death here on this song. Excuse me. Kind of talks about death here on this song, and about how like as he's battled with depression, he's thought about death like a lot in his life. So you can hear it in some of the lyrics, like carbon copy, and he's sounding like very kind of like, and he like even like sounds like he's suffering in the vocals too. But it sounds good. Like it doesn't sound like total crap. Like a lot of like people like said it pretty much has lately before this album. Before this album. And then Kanye sort of talks about how he does sort of reflect on how he has lost some people due to his like support of Donald Trump and like all of this like crazy stuff that he's been like sharing with us on the internet and stuff like that. But still, trying to stay true to himself like in his music and whatnot. And also sort of stating some stuff like he's got a Bible by his bed, meaning he's like kind of meaning he's a Christian and stuff like that. He's got some really clever, very memorable bars throughout on his verse. So throughout his verse, it definitely is. Excuse me. It actually is one of the better verses that I think he's like dropped in this year, alongside some of the stuff and songs like "Yikes" off of Yay. Off of Yay, and then of course we get a little like outro at the end from Yasiin, who also like sings the hook on this song really nicely. And I also really like the point where Cudi sings the hook on there as well. well, and he's got a really beautiful kind of like auto-tuned background vocal at the end too. Who and the closing track on here, Cudi Montage, is essentially kind of like a little bit of a redemption song for Cudi, pretty much. It opens up with a sample from Kurt Cobain's Burn the Rain, which is featured on his Heck of Montage, like sort of B-sides, weird compilation he put out. But it really works as kind of like, but it definitely really works as kind of the main melody of the song, I would say. Say another great example of this album's use of guitar samples, and then Cudi does sort of talk about how, and Cudi sort of like talks about how he's like working on like trying to redeem himself. I did find this out recently. He actually got sober, and I think that kind of shows some improvements in his music, I would say. So he probably makes, some subtle references to, getting sober that I haven't really heard on this album yet. But like, the chorus of the song, the Cudi's, whoa, whoa, stay strong, the harmonies, the way they mesh together is just beautiful. Like, over top of that instrumental that is laced with the Kurt Cobain guitar sample, and Kanye's verse definitely is definitely just as good as like everything else happening in there. It's a perfect example of how the high near flawless qualities of this album. So yeah, I definitely did not anticipate that I would be like just this glowing about this project, but I think Cudi has improved and Kanye's actually improved too. Like I can't wait to hear what he does production wise next. Of course, that's a pretty typical thing to say, because I know everyone's asking Kanye, where's the album? As that Yandi album he like meant to put out still isn't out yet. So fingers crossed. Let's just hope he puts it out in 2019, because I certainly will check it out. I'm gonna make a bold statement here. I'm gonna give Kids See Ghosts a 9.4 out of 10. Yes, you heard me right. 9.4. This project is incredible. Definitely. Check it out sometime. I highly recommend you check it out sometime. I know, and this is the kind of record where if you miss the older Kanye, this album will likely appeal to those who really like the kind of the Graduation, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy kind of Kanye. So that's my review of Kids See Ghosts, the collaboration between Kanye West and Kid Cudi. And I'll see you for episode 222.